from pretty much every angle that you can imagine in the industry, and everybody from micro VCs all the way up the food chain to private equity are interested in this. So we've got a really great crowd here. I'll let the folks do introductions for themselves, but we've got people on the research side, we've got people from startups, and also leading venture capitalists here in Silicon Valley to share some of their perspectives in sourcing, diligencing, and investing in great AI and machine learning companies. So without further ado, I'm going to start with Chris.
Great, thanks, John. Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Nicholson. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Skymind. Skymind is Cloudera for deep learning, Red Hat for AI. We built an open source tool called Deep Learning for J. J is for Java, the main deep learning tool for Java. And we work with large organizations, government agencies, and Fortune 2000 companies to build deep learning solutions with our open source technology. Thank you.
Thanks. My name is Scott Frederick, and I'm a partner at New Enterprise Associates, probably better known as NEA. I run our biz dev and federal practices across the US IT portfolio.
I'm Adam. I'm a partner at Lightspeed Venture Partners. Joined last year, pretty interested in the interesting inflection points we're seeing in AI right now.
Prakash, Nanduri, co-founder and CEO of Paxata. We are a leading data preparation platform. We take raw data and transform it into information ready for analytics, and we leverage a number of analytical and AI technologies to make that happen.
Thank you. All right, so first I want to start off to get an idea of the folks that are in the crowd. So raise your hand if you're on the consumer side, either a founder or investor. And enterprise? All right, it's a little heavier on enterprise. So the conversation we're going to have today is focused around the idea of the AI stack and breaking down what that really means and where research is at each level of that stack and where we need to be moving forward. So the first question that I want to start with, I want to go to Scott and really get an idea of how you think about the machine intelligence ecosystem and where you see that stack break down.
Sure. Well, I mean, that's a big question to start with. So at NEA, we've been very aggressive on the AI ML front. Depending on, there's kind of some definitional questions on what counts as a AI or machine company, but I think we have probably 15 to 20 companies that would fit just about any definition. And we've come at it from everything from what I'd call platform plays. Those are companies like a Bonsai, a Data Robot. We come at it from a horizontal and then also across a number of verticals. We've done AI plays in everything from security to healthcare to predictive analytics. We're about to do a deal on disaster response, believe it or not, that uses some fascinating AI technology. I'm not sure I'm answering the question on the stack. To be honest, I should probably punt that to our more technical members to my left.
Which we can absolutely do.
Sure, so I think a great place to start is to look at the environment we see right now in the public cloud. I think that when you look at AWS and GCP and you look at Azure, everyone's really wondering who's going to own the big data, AI, ML workloads going forward. So I think that the part of the stack that needs the most work going forward is actually the infrastructure side. People need to have frameworks to deploy and manage the analytics and critical business applications that need to be run going forward.
So let me push back on that a bit. So from the perspective of existing startups, let's take a Snap, for example, that notoriously has an incredibly large vested interest in both GCP and AWS. When you're looking at and evaluating companies, and obviously from Lightspeed, you have sort of hands-on experience with Snap. So when you see companies come to you that are heavily dependent on these cloud providers, how do you diligence that, and what does it mean to you as an investor?
Yeah, so as far as that particular company, I can't comment due to SEC regulations, but more generally speaking about a company's reliance on public cloud infrastructure, I don't generally see an issue if it isn't critical to the service that they're offering. So if you're building a highly verticalized application and you rely on public cloud offering, that actually could just be leverage. So there's a company called Rubrik, which does enterprise secondary storage, so call that backup and recovery. And instead of archiving out data to tape libraries, it leverages public and private object stores. So things like S3, things like SwiftStack on-premise, and so on. And that really isn't the critical offering of the company because it's a software-defined secondary storage platform. So relying on a third-party vendor to outsource something that's more of a continuity play in the space seems like a very smart move to me.
And Prakash, you are in that world 24/7. So from the startup's perspective, do you agree with what Adam's saying?
Yes, in general, yes, absolutely. But I think first and foremost, just like the word strategic is the most overused word in business lexicon, I think these days we're starting to see AI as being the most overused word in tech. And we tend to confuse a lot of things here. There's a number of trends going on in the industry, one of them being cloud or self-service, or an interest in analytics to drive towards decisions, or to have better and more sophisticated applications that are going to do things that we have not been able to do before. What's really important, I think, first is to get zeroed in that AI is an enabling technology. And it enables so many different things, whether you're talking about a robot or a self-driving car or a technology or an applied technology like Paxata. We're an information platform. We take raw data, we make it information ready for analytics. We leverage AI, and it's a very broad term. We actually leverage machine learning, we leverage natural language processing, we leverage semantic text algorithms, and we leverage computational algorithms. And we combine them in a distributed scale-out architecture, wrap it with a consumer experience, and then deliver it over the cloud. So I want all of us to be very clear about what we're talking about, because there are so many trends. But if you're looking at just specifically AI trends, then I think there's a number of things, and I'll let some of my colleagues speak about what AI trends are going on. But I just wanted to set the stage in distinguishing between enabling technologies and then the applications of that enabling technology.
Yeah, Prakash, I think that's an excellent point. It is absolutely an enabling technology, and I draw the analogy back to internet connectivity. I was lucky enough to get into venture back in the mid-90s, and I remember we would actually group portfolio companies as internet companies, and that sounds pretty foolish right now because almost any company in our portfolio is going to have internet connectivity. I think we're going to see the same thing in the next 5-10 years, where most companies we look at and invest in are going to leverage AI and ML. So there is a definitional issue. Right now we're in this really fun early stage period. And I think back to RSA just a month or so ago, I got a kick out of walking the halls, and almost every vendor tried to use artificial intelligence or machine learning in their promotional materials. I'd stop and kind of talk to some of the CEOs and the heads of technology, and their knowledge of AI and ML, I'd say, was superficial at best.
So, Chris, yeah, and I want to tap Chris, and I think you have some things you want to say about this, but I also want to add to that question as well, because obviously with DL4J and your work more on the technical side of things, you get to see the full gamut. You get to see the startups that are out there that maybe have a revolutionary or particularly compelling business model, but perhaps on the technical side, they're leveraging Watson APIs, they're using GCP. When you see those types of companies, do you think there's a place for them? And I'll also sort of let you respond to the other discussion we're having as well.
Yeah, I think my answer is going to be a bit more detailed and practical for the people in the room. Investors and operators, when they consider whether an AI solution is real or whether a startup or their team has the capacity to build it, should think about 4 things. Right? There are 4 things you need to build an AI solution. They're all necessary. None of them alone are sufficient. Right? You need talent, tools, data, and infrastructure. Right? We can dig into what each of those 4 things is, but those are your check boxes. Right? If you're missing one of those, it's not going to work. Right? So you can kind of get out of infrastructure by using a public cloud if you want your startup to be a funnel channeling VC money to AWS, right? And I'll just tell you something, that the excitement around deep learning in the cloud, driven by the cloud vendors, is partially because they're making a ton of money on that, right? A single deep learning model can cost $10,000 to $30,000, right? And if you've got a hyperparameter wrong, you're gonna have to pay another $30,000 to get it right. And I want you to know, you can buy a lot of hardware for $30,000, right? So part of this deep learning trend could signal the return of hardware, right? The DGX ones, what have you, the faster chips that people are...
Custom chips?
The custom chips and you know, the ASIC startups that we've probably heard about that may come on in a year or so with something 100 times faster, right? So the computational intensivity of deep learning is going to drive a lot of innovation, right, to solve the costs that are involved in producing accurate neural net models. But like, so talent, right? The talent has been, I wouldn't say, it's being hoarded by a few companies at the top of the tech pyramid, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, right? They are just hoovering up the machine learning PhDs out there, right? It's hard to find the right people. The tools, they could be deep learning. For Jay, they could be TensorFlow. There's all kinds of tools out there. Obviously, when you get to the data, companies like Mighty AI can help you if you need a labeled data set, right? So each of these things, you need to have it. If you don't have quality data, right, garbage in, garbage out, you're not gonna have good results.
Fair enough, fair enough.